Manchester United 2, Liverpool 4. What a game that was. Mo making it 4 late on to keep the top 4 dream alive. Welcome to the Debrief Live here on the Blood Red channel. I'm Guy Clark. Matt Addison here with me as we react to a first win at Old Trafford since 2014. A first win there, of course, for Jurgen Klopp as well. And Matt, it was worth the wait, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the last 10 minutes there felt like 7 years on its own, didn't it? I mean, wow, it's somehow back almost into Liverpool's hands, not quite. I'm sure we'll get onto that, but we knew effectively, didn't we, a few weeks ago that they were going to have to win the last 5 games or so. This game obviously got delayed. That put another spanner in the works, but I thought, Liverpool tonight, that was one of their best performances of this season. I thought they were really good. They probably could have won it by more if they'd have been a little bit more clinical. That's been a problem for a long, long time, but look, let's not complain about that. Let's just savour the 3 points, and it puts Liverpool in a fantastic position from a season really where it's looked like they should have been out of it. They should have been out of it. Obviously, what's happened last night with Arsenal helping them out. There's been so many things that had to go Liverpool's way, and it just about has done. And I thought they were fantastic tonight. I mean, obviously, having gone behind to turn a game around against Manchester United, as you say, the first time that Jurgen Klopp has ever won at Old Trafford. So many things that just seemed unlikely to be happening have ultimately ended up happening, and Liverpool now in a fantastic position. So absolutely superb, but still 3 matches to go, still lots and lots of work to do.
Yeah, definitely. And I said it's been 7 years sort of waiting for that result. I bet you sort of feel as though you aged 7 years during that time as well. Before we actually get into the match and everything, I just want to sort of pay respect to up shirts with Jordan number 7 on the back as a mark of respect to a young Liverpool fan who sadly was taken way too soon earlier in the week after a tragic accident whilst playing football and being struck by lightning. That a true touch of class from the club. But Matt, talking of the result and how it did play out for Liverpool, of course, as you mentioned before, this game was rescheduled on the backdrop of all the protests before even tonight's game got underway as well, and couldn't really have started worse for Liverpool, falling behind to what I think is going to
I think we just lost Guy there for a second, but yeah, I mean, as you say, Liverpool obviously went a goal behind it. It felt like one of those moments that was maybe going against Liverpool. They had to show a lot of character there, and to turn a game around like that when the pressure is on, I think is really a testament to the character of the players. The way that they've performed tonight was superb, especially having gone behind. I mean, look, Nat Phillips could have done a little bit better, I think, with that goal. I think there was, a question mark over, is it going to be an own goal? Is it a Bruno Fernandes goal? I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think it possibly was hitting the post. I think it probably will go down as an own goal. But I think after that, he showed a lot of quality, really, in terms of his character, as I say, to turn around his performance and perform really well. And the whole Liverpool team did as well. I thought the first half an hour or so, they struggled a little bit. Manchester United were on top. It looked like they were the fresher of the two teams, the ones who could just go out and play really with no pressure. We know that they're going to finish second. They're not going to win the league, obviously. They're not going to drop out of the top 4. There's really nothing for them to play with. And I thought that showed sort of in the first half an hour and probably towards the end of the game as well, where they kind of have sort of stopped playing it a little bit and let Liverpool back into it. But yeah, take nothing away from Liverpool, from Nat Phillips. Every single player there stood up and was counted. And to come back from a goal behind, not just to win, but to actually go behind and then turn that around, I thought was fantastic. I think that the sort of timing of the goals was huge as well. I think obviously just coming either side of half time, those are always going to be big moments in the game. And look, it's one of those performances that I think we will look back on. Certainly, if Liverpool do get into the top 4, it's sort of ended that little bit of a hoodoo for Liverpool at Old Trafford. There's been so many things said about that. There's been things said about Trent. There's been things said about a lot of these players this season. But I think they deserve a lot of credit really for that, because to come back, as I say, from a goal down against Manchester United, and a Manchester United side who, we've got to be honest, have been the second best team in the country this season. They've been consistent. They've scored goals. They've tended to actually come from behind a lot themselves this season. But yeah, thankfully tonight the tables were turned. It was Liverpool doing that, and they've obviously got themselves an enormous 3 points there.
Of course, it was the first game officially that Liverpool were no longer champions of the Premier League, but in many respects, as you were sort of reeling off the names there, it was kind of a bit of a reminder, wasn't it? Hey, look, we were champions. We've got that champion quality about us, and a number of the players, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Bobby Firmino, those 2 goals either side of the halftime break, I suppose probably the decisive ones. He's a player who's come in for a lot of criticism, came into the team for Sadio Mane today and proved Jurgen Klopp's selection completely right, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's no surprise, I don't think, that he came back in. I mean, we mentioned it in the lead up to the game. I think it was always going to be important. Obviously, the goals are important, but his sort of all-round ability to hold the ball up, to keep it, to win it back, to press, I think that was always going to be huge for Liverpool tonight. And I think that sort of proved to be the case. Obviously, the big story with him will be the 2 goals with Firmino playing and obviously Mane coming off the bench. But I thought that was the right call at the time, and so it proved. Thankfully, it was a really good performance. I mean, look, you say he's been criticised at times this season. I think that's been correct. It's been right. He's not been anywhere near the level that we expect. But I think that was kind of a sort of reminder, I think, tonight of what Liverpool can do. And I think it does put down a marker in terms of next season as well. I mean, obviously, first and foremost, Liverpool's task is simple. They have to win the last 3 games, get themselves into the Champions League next season. But I think looking ahead to next season as well, it's important that they've won this. They've shown that they can score goals. I mean, not many teams go to Old Trafford and score 4 times. I think for Liverpool to do that, and they could have easily had 1 or 2 more as well. I mean, Jota probably should have scored when he hit the post for a few minutes. You were thinking that could have been costly when Rashford brings one back, but obviously Mohamed Salah sort of wins it for Liverpool at the end. I mean, there was an opportunity there to win by even more goals, and I think that really does put down a marker for next season as well. I fully expect, with Van Dijk and all the rest of the injured players to come back, Liverpool will be right up there again next season. But first and foremost, it was a case of making sure that when those players do come back, they are in the top 4, they're in the Champions League, and I think you've got to back Liverpool from this position to make sure that they do that.
Yeah, we'll have a very quick talk about the permutations very shortly indeed. But just before we do that, I want to ask you about Nat Phillips. Of course, you got the touch on the first goal we mentioned before, whether or not it might end up being a Fernandes goal or Phillips' own goal. But that was him trying to put his body on the line and make the block. He then nearly won a penalty, was determined and helped in the build-up to Jota's equaliser. And then second half, could have been 3-3, but for a goal line block from him.
Yeah, it was everything that we know about Nat Phillips all in one game, really, wasn't it? I thought the first goal sort of told me that he has his limitations. I think if that's a Gomez or a Van Dijk or a top-level player, they just adjust their feet a little bit better, get themselves into a better position and clear that. But then, to be fair to him, he's done a lot more right than he's done wrong for Liverpool this season. That's, absolutely goes without saying. And I thought we saw that again tonight, obviously at fault for the opening goal, but then he turns that around, the assist for Jota and all of the rest of the bits that you've spoken about there. I thought it was a brilliant performance from him. I think he's just got that knack 9 times out of 10. If he needs to sort of get himself into a position to block a ball, clear one off the line, whatever he can do, winning the ball in the air, of course, we know is a big strength of his as well. I thought we saw a little bit of everything from him tonight, and it was a big performance, I think, from him. And I think to add to that as well, I mean, you've got to sort of put Reece Williams in the same sort of hat as well. I mean, for the pair of them, what an experience to come into a game of this magnitude, to play alongside each other, to start for just the 3rd time, I think. And there was a lot of concern. There was a lot of talk about, should Fabinho drop back? Was it the right call? I think it's absolutely proven to be the right call. And it was a gamble. I think if it was me, I'd have been very, very tempted to have put, Fabinho back in the defence and played it safe. But, to be fair to both Reece Williams and Nat Phillips tonight, they were both on balance, very, very good and have really, really helped Liverpool to get that 3 points.
Yeah, some clips at full time going around showing Sadio Mane not wanting to give Jurgen Klopp a high five, which seems to sort of not gone down all too well. But in terms of permutations then, Matt, is it in Liverpool's hands or is it not quite?
Not quite. I think it's as close to being in Liverpool's hands as it could be without actually being in Liverpool's hands. I mean, the only way that it's not in Liverpool's hands, I think, is if the result goes against them next midweek. So anything other than a Leicester win, hopefully I've said that the right way around, would mean that it is in Liverpool's hands. If Leicester were to win, or is it Leicester or is it Chelsea?
Yeah, no, it's Leicester. No, you're correct.
if Leicester were to win, that would put them potentially on the same points as Liverpool, and it could go down to goal difference. So, I mean, you'd then be looking at next, or the final game of the season, it would come down to goal difference and whether Liverpool could outscore Leicester, which, given the fixtures, obviously on paper, you'd imagine that they could do that. But it's not quite there yet. But I think we are as close to being able to say, as long as Liverpool win their final 3 matches, I am pretty certain that they will be in the Champions League next season. And look, let's be honest, even 2 or 3 weeks ago, if you'd have said that, every Liverpool fan would have absolutely snapped your hand off for that, because it's looked at a million miles away at times this season. They've sort of been dragged back into contention just about, and then it's been taken away from them. And the same thing has sort of happened 2 or 3 times, but it's as close to being in Liverpool's hands as anybody could have dreamt of, within the last sort of month or so. And yeah, I'm going to say if Liverpool win the last 3 games, they'll be in the Champions League. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, the difficult thing is the fact that Chelsea play Leicester in midweek, obviously, after they play in the FA Cup. So just looking at the table, Leicester at the moment sit 3rd. They have 2 games left to play and are on 66. So they could get to 72. If that happens, Chelsea would only be able to get to 67. Liverpool, currently on 60 points, but have 3 games left to play, could get to 69. So in that case, if Leicester beat Chelsea, Chelsea could potentially drop out if Liverpool keep winning their games. Of course, they've West Brom, Burnley and Crystal Palace to come. If the 2 of them draw, that then, of course, means that Leicester can get to 70 points. Chelsea would only be able to get to 68 points. Still, Liverpool can get to 69. So it is all of the different permutations. If Chelsea win, of course, Leicester can get to 69. That is the number that Liverpool can get to. And then it would come down to goal difference. So, yeah, there's so many different twists and turns still right until the very last. But speaking of goal difference and how important that could be, Matt, Mo Salah's goal right at the end, his 30th of the campaign, could be even more crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just going to add to that before we get to Mo Salah as well. Chelsea go to Aston Villa on the last day of the season, which with fans inside Villa Park, you'd fancy them. Jack Grealish made his return from injury today. You'd expect him to be fully fit. There's certainly a lot more twists and turns to come. But yeah, Mohamed Salah, what a player. I mean, it's absolutely laughable. I've seen lots of pundits giving their team of the year this season. The fact that he's not in most of those pundits' teams is really, really bizarre to me. I mean, to score 30 goals for a Liverpool team that really, let's be honest, has not created a huge amount of chances this season. They've not been scoring goals. They've not really been winning games. He's been, Liverpool's most important player this season. He's been absolutely magnificent again. He scored, so many times when it's been a crucial sort of goal. And I think tonight is probably the one that will sort of be the picture of this season. If Liverpool do go on to qualify for the Champions League, tonight's will be the one that, you sort of see the pictures in future years and future seasons. But, all of them have been absolutely crucial for Liverpool this season. And he's just a magnificent footballer, isn't he? He's played 200 times, I think, for Liverpool in the past 4 seasons now, which, again, it's just a testament to his availability, his consistency. The number of goals that he scores is ridiculous. And yeah, long may that continue. I think, for Liverpool this summer, one of the biggest things that they have to do is to sign him down to a new contract, because if you take Mohamed Salah out of Liverpool this season, they would not have a chance of getting into that top 4. And that ultimately is the difference. I think, if Liverpool do get there, it will be a long, long way down to what he has done this season.
Yeah, it doesn't even bear worth thinking about where Liverpool would be without Mohamed Salah this season. But we'll be back, of course, on the Blood Red channel with plenty more reaction in Friday's Blood Red podcast. Stick with us here, though, on the channel this evening. Jurgen Klopp and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's full post-match press conferences are to come on the channel. From myself, Guy Clark, and Matt Addison, though, thanks for your time and your company. It's bye for now.